Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to another episode of the Stella Herself podcast. As always, thank you so much for listening, and tweet me or IG story tag me a screenshot or an aesthetic boomerang or pic of you listening because I love seeing who listens. It's been a great week in our Discord. It's been a great week talking to y'all on IG. I feel like we had a lot of tea this week just on my story talking about Pisces season. And there was something else I posted. I literally forget, but it definitely stirred up. Oh, I think it was, it was kind of like more of a mini little like tell me the tea or tell me a fun fact. And I just feel like I was like talking to so many of you about bullshit, which is like my favorite thing. Like there was two of the most notable ones. One of them was someone said they're friends with a 50-year-old man who sometimes says sexist things. So I was like, maybe you should look into a retirement home for him. And a lot of you were responding to that. And then also this girl said she ate 3 pounds of peanut butter last week or something. And that stirred up a lot of controversy in my DMs. People were like, oh, she's lying. Or like people wanted to know like how she was eating the peanut butter. So I just love that, we can just talk about bullshit on IG because that's all I really want to do. Beverages of the day. This is my grande cold brew from yesterday. I only drank half yesterday, which I think is a good sign because, yesterday I was like really hungover. Not really hungover, but I was like hungover. Like I was able to do stuff throughout my day, but it was like a challenge. But before I was committing to my no/minimal caffeine lifestyle, I could easily drink a venti cold brew just like that, like easy. And now, I only drink half of it, so this is the other half. And then I got a new tea from the Puka brand. It's their love tea, and I just wanted it because it was cute. I mean, I wanted the flavors too, but it was pink. It was like cute. And it is kind of more of a sleepy time tea, but I just really wanted to try it. I have not tried it yet. But I think it's chamomile, rose, something else. I think there's also licorice root in here. It is really good. I feel like it needs to steep longer, low key. And then we also have water, of course. But yeah, how has everyone's week been? I had such a fun weekend, you guys. It was just like so fun. Like it was kind of low key giving me Leo season vibes, which can definitely be risky because, Leo season is definitely the season where I wild out the most. Like my most antics always happen in Leo season. And this past weekend was like giving me that vibe, even though it was cold as fuck and like it definitely wasn't Leo season, but it was like giving me a taste of that. And we're going to be talking about that today. It's so funny because I was trying to remember, like I remembered that someone had sent me a TikTok, and I love when you guys do this, by the way. Like please, if you ever see a TikTok or just like an article, anything that you want my thoughts on or you want me to discuss on the podcast, like it's not like I'm gonna have the answers to anything, but I think to everything, but that's why I like doing this podcast, is I feel like all of us are usually on the same page of like, we're having a discussion. And that's why I've also been enjoying my IG lives, because we kind of discuss on live, like certain topics and sometimes astrology and things like that. So please, if you ever see a TikTok, like just send it to me, DM it to me, tag me, because I always am looking for ideas and I want to know like what you guys want to hear about, talk about, etc. But I was like, fuck, like I don't think I screenshotted it. Like I don't remember what it was, but I just remember I was like, oh, I should definitely talk about that. And thank God I was able to find it. Because again, my DMs were kind of popping this past week of like us just talking about, 3 pounds of peanut butter. So I definitely had to scroll, but I was able to find it. So I'm really excited to talk about that. And I feel like it's just very relevant probably in all of our lives, or at least it probably has been at some point. But yeah, so it's Pisces season now. If you didn't listen to the past or most recent episode, I talked about Pisces season. But I feel like this weekend was even though it was like antic-y, and I don't necessarily think of Pisces season as like my most antic season, it was a very, for me at least, like go with the flow type of weekend, which I feel like is very Pisces season. Like we're just like a fish floating around, like let's just see what happens next. And I feel like that's like always when low key like the best shit happens, is like when you're spontaneous and when you just like when you trust yourself and listen to your intuition, but also when you just kind of are open to seeing what could happen. You know, that's like definitely how I felt. And also, bro, okay, Pisces season is also, and again, we talked about this last week, but I just have to like reiterate because so much shit happened. Like, it's a very like psychic kind of time. So this month, y'all, well, you know, this season, end of February, beginning of March, pay attention to your dreams. There have been so many little things happening where like I would see, okay, we know TikTok's an algorithm, but I'm talking about like I would see a TikTok and then something would happen like directly related to the, or you know, when you just kind of see something, it's like kind of in your subconscious, and then like it would fucking happen like multiple times already. So I'm like, is this a Pisces season thing? And I already feel like personally my dreams have been more vivid because they were so vivid over Mercury retrograde. Like I was remembering them fully. I've been writing all my dreams down in my journal. And I can just see like during Mercury retrograde, every single day, there's like a full paragraph about my dream. And then it kind of stops and there's like maybe one here that I remember like, but recently they've been super vivid again. So let me know if you can relate, and also were your dreams crazy during this past Mercury retrograde, because bro, what the fuck, like I feel like writing them down also kind of helps, but you really have to like do it as soon as you wake up. Or like sometimes I don't feel like fucking pulling out my journal and pen when I am half asleep, but I will just take my phone and like use text to speech and like just say words that I know are going to remind me of and that really helps. And it's just like lower maintenance until I can fully write it down later. But let me know if you keep track of your dreams. Also finished a book. Dude, I'm waiting. I want to fucking start a new book. I've only been reading Little House books. I'm on By the Shores of Silver Lake now. And now it's like starting to get a little more, not interesting, but you know, they're like a little bit older. And I just don't really remember reading these later ones as much. So it's almost like more engaging because there's just so much I don't remember. If you don't know, I'm talking about the Little House on the Prairie books. Let me know if you read those growing up. But I just had like this craving over like Christmas when I was back home to read them. So I've been rereading those. And if you listen to the podcast or watched my video on like how I read more books, those have been like my before bed books because it's like a nice little story. And it's also just nostalgic. It's so funny because I went to the library to get these most recent ones, and I had to go to the children's section, so I just like asked the lady like, where are these? And she was like, is there like a show coming out or something? Because a lot of people have been like asking me about those recently and like wanting to check them out. So I was just wondering like, is there a movie coming out? Like, what's the sudden interest? And I was like, no, like I didn't even know it was like trendy. Like I just had the craving to read it, so I've been rereading them. But I thought that was so funny because I feel like I've just been talking about them so much. So I guess some other people are on the same vibe. Last week I finished my Angela Davis book. I would definitely recommend this, y'all. Angela Davis, Women, Race, and Class. It's definitely a book where it was a lot easier to read when I was highlighting it. So I bought this book. Obviously, do not highlight your library books, but it is definitely a book, you know, you have to really sit down and pay attention to fully absorb, because it's a lot of history, a lot of facts, and like it's not just some like, oh yeah, let me just like read this before bed. But just like a lot of good information, and especially about feminism. I remember I think it was like 5th grade, doing a project about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And, you know, just like the early women's suffrage movement and everything like that. So I really like this book because it just explains a whole lot more about what actually was going on. And, you know, when you bring race into it and like how, you know, there's like white feminism, and then there's like the shit that was happening, and how I think she said Susan B. Anthony was kind of like wanted to be neutral when it came to racism. So that's kind of like, it's like, okay, if you're not like against it, you're kind of like with it, you know, if you're being neutral. So there was that. And then, you know, it starts out during slavery and goes to like abortion and birth control now. So it's just like a really good read. So if you're interested, which I'm sure you are if you listen to this fucking podcast, if you're interested in feminism, as well as racism, this is just like, it has so much good history just in one book. So would definitely recommend, but yeah, definitely just be prepared. Have your highlighter on hand. That just helped me so much to like pay attention. But once I kind of got in the flow of reading it, I was like, yeah, okay. It's not like a hard read, but it's not Little House on the Prairie. Yeah, so super important, educate yourself. Speaking of shit like that and how the United States is terrible, today that I'm recording this is 2/2/2/2/2. I keep seeing all these posts about manifestation and things like that. Honestly, y'all, I don't know if this comes as a shock. I'm not like super big on like angel numbers. Like, you know, if it's 444, I'll take a picture of it and post on my story. But I'm not like yeah, I fuck with astrology and whatnot, but I'm just not like super into, like, I don't have like, and I'm not saying it's like bad, but I just never like, it's not like I have a number that I've always been obsessed with, or like I don't have a favorite number. Like it's like, okay. Like, yeah, I love the aesthetic, how 1111 looks on my IG story, but like that's it. But I thought, you know, bringing the astrology into it, this day is the day that Pluto goes return. So let's talk about that, shall we? So I found this information from Refinery29, but wait, let's see. A planetary return occurs when a planet in the zodiac returns to the place, which is the degree and sign it was during a physical or spiritual birth. These events are thought to mark a new chapter and story in our lives, one that will set the stage for the future and is karmic in nature. So, you know, some planets like the sun are gonna go like have a return every year. So that's like our birthday, you know, like your solar return. Mars returns to the point and sign where it was when we were born about every 2 years. Jupiter every 13 years. Saturn returns is every 27 to 30 years. And, you know, I'm sure a lot of you have heard about, like, I mean, if you're into astrology, you know, like your Saturn return, it's like once you turn 30, like you just go through this like huge transformation. Like, I don't know, some people freak out, some people just like change careers or like know what they want to do, like things like that. So if a planet's further away from Earth, you know, we're not going to have like a personal Pluto return because it only happens every 200 years or so. But it affects more so like nations or like reigns of power or like history in that way. Like it's a little more global, I guess. It's not as personal. So this year, like today that I'm recording this, Pluto will reach 27 degrees Capricorn, and that is the degree and sign it was during the signing of the Declaration of Independence in 1776. So it was not where it is now until then. And when you think about that, like that was just a mark of like, you know, the birth of the modern day United States. Astrologers are considering this the U.S.'s personal Pluto return, and because Pluto is known for shaking up current dynamics and pushing them to crumble, all to allow them to be put back together in a restorative way that aligns with the status quo, they are predicting that the country may undergo some major changes, hopefully for the better. And we can kind of see, you know, over the past couple years how society has been crumbling, you know, with the pandemic, with Black Lives Matter. And I feel like just in general, a lot of people just becoming a lot more aware of certain issues and like just structurally how the United States is like quite shit, should we say. And I feel like social media has helped a lot with that. You know, we're just exposed to so many new opinions and like viewpoints and just information that we wouldn't have necessarily been otherwise, especially if you just think in the old days, you know, when people were only really exposed to like who was immediately around them in their town or whatever. But then even with like newspapers and television, like that media can often be very controlled. So with social media, it's like individuals, you know, it's like a little more power to the people as far as like speaking up and like sharing your voice and things like that. Over the past 13 plus years, Pluto entered Capricorn in November 2008, but it is returning to the degrees, 27 degrees, where it was during the Declaration of Independence today. So there we go. Pluto in Capricorn has caused many ugly truths to bubble to the surface, resulting in the downfall of corporations and people in power that have refused to evolve. Society can only resist transformation for so long. Pluto is a planet of contradiction. It represents creation and destruction. It tears down things that are no longer working and replaces the outdated ways of thinking with evolutionary views. It also represents renewal and rebirth, changing ideology to align with the current times. The dwarf planet helps to help the world grow, and when people don't want to evolve along with it, we may see societal upheavals. Perfect. Yeah, they're talking about like Me Too and like Black Lives Matter. A lot of people and systems being exposed for their dishonesties and abuses of power. The pandemic has made our calls for justice that much louder. People are demanding change, and with this Pluto return marking a new chapter or story for the U.S., astrologers are predicting that this is the time the government may undergo a massive spiritual makeover. The most noticeable change will be in the way we do business with others and get paid. With many people working remotely, there's been an increasing emphasis on independent work, and we've never been more reliant on technology. Cryptocurrency, working at home. Yeah. While Pluto has been in Capricorn, we've already seen the beginnings of a financial metamorphosis, hopefully one that will ultimately modify old resources into new ones that will benefit the masses, without an imbalance or people in power controlling the financial strings. Change is something that's needed, and it's coming. So I will link that article down below. I also was reading something on popsugar.com. Dude, it'd be the most random, like, websites. I feel like Refinery 29, like, I reference a lot of their articles, but it's like, just get to the point, you know, like, which these do. So that's why I use them. But yeah, so just, you know, it's like, bro, our fucking lives. And you know, it's crazy just also being like this age. And I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're like probably around my age. If not, we love that as well. But like, just that coming into adulthood vibe, and just how you, like, I think for me, one of the biggest things has been realizing that like everyone's a person, in the sense of like, I think you first kind of notice it with your parents. Like, you know, you're a kid and you just think your parents or your caregivers, whoever, like, have all the answers and they're just so strong, like nothing could ever like affect them, like, you know. And then you grow up and you realize, like, as you've been getting older, they also have been getting older. Like, they're not just this like not stagnant, but just like this like fixed thing, you know. It's like they also hopefully, you know, have been growing and changing. And then you just, at least again for me, like, I've also realized, like, that's why shit's the way it is, because like, think of the worst Chad, you know, that's like every old man in the government. It's like, okay, like, think of every worst frat bro, you know, like, that's like what society is built around, you know. It's just like, oh my god, like, oh. And then just like so much more history kind of makes sense, because it's like, oh, like, these were like people, you know. It just like blows my mind. It's like, it's not like, and even just like with celebrities, I feel like a big way that has been kind of exposed, and I think I've probably I know I have talked about this before, but just with social media and how, like, I think when I was talking about it, it was like, oh, the downfall of like celebrities, and just how much more easy it is to become a celebrity these days, and how I feel like a lot of people have kind of realized that celebrities are just people, and, you know, just celebrities like being stupid, being exposed for doing like dumb shit, even something like a typo on their IG caption, but like, you know, it could also be something a lot more serious. It's like everyone's a person, and like there's just so many, not rules, I mean, I guess like rules, but so many like systems to like make more these people seem more powerful than these people, but it's like, really, bitch, we're all human. Or I was just like living here, like, what the fuck. So anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts about that. But yeah, this is the last podcast of the month. So I also just wanted to kind of talk about the month. Like, how did February go for y'all? I definitely feel like it was a big shift for me just from last month. One of my main goals this month was just to not, I feel like in January, and I know I talked about this probably in the beginning of the month when I was talking about my goals, but in January, you know, I was very much in the house, you know, on grind mode, wasn't really going out, but I just ended up feeling very like isolated a lot of the time, and it didn't always feel like, oh yeah, like I'm on my productive grind mode shit, like ew. So one of my main goals, and I just got a lot of anxiety as a result of that, like ew. So one of my main goals for February was to, I guess, like feel more community around me and to be open to trying new things. I was really focused heavy on like, you know, I don't know, trying a new restaurant, trying a new coffee shop. And that's kind of like just one of my goals for the year is like to at least try one new place a month. But I guess just to kind of break routine and be open to seeing what happens and to be more social. And that fits a lot of the themes of Aquarius season, you know, which it was at the beginning of this month. But I just really feel like I did a good job of being like actively aware of that. And especially just in general, you know, for someone who, bitch, sometimes it's hard for me to go with the flow. So maybe that's one of my March goals or Pisces season goals. But, you know, I think I'd like to do more so like months. But since we're going to start March off in Pisces season, go with the flow, bitch. Like, you know, y'all know me. I love my routine. I love planning every single little thing that I'm going to do in my life. But maybe March is the month where I sit back, relax, and just like not like in a passive way, but just in a like being open and curious to seeing what's possible way. Yeah, so pay attention to your dreams, y'all. And just like meditating. Dude, I've also been like, the yoga has really been paying off. It was a good month. And I mean, it's not over yet, but I mean, basically, by the time this goes up, there's only like a few days left. So I would recommend doing some journaling. Go back. This is why it's so good to journal, because like I was writing stuff down for the Aquarius new moon, which happened at the beginning of February. And that's more so like things you want to happen for the month or like your intentions or manifestations. So that's why it's so cool to journal and actually write these things down, because then you can go back to them. And it's just so funny, like, I mean, not funny, but like, it's just interesting to see it's interesting how much we forget, you know, like when we're living something or like experiencing even very strong emotions sometimes, you know, it's like, oh, well, obviously I'm going to remember this. Like, how could I not? I'm feeling it so strongly. It's so active in my mind. But like life just keeps happening and we just keep experiencing more shit and more memories and like whatever. So we do forget. So that's why it's so important to journal and like write shit down. Also, I feel like, you know, I had like a little diary growing up for sure. Like I have a diary from kindergarten. And I feel like looking at journaling or treating it more so as a way for like my present self to work through emotions rather than like, oh, I just want to like write a list of what happened or like explain what happened this week so my future self can remember. Like sometimes that's cool, whatever, and sometimes you can get emotion out of like just explaining what happened, or sometimes, you know, you have to do that. But instead, like, oh, this is for me now, and like what do I need to write about or work through, or like, you know, just like the word vomit. I'm sure you guys, some of you have heard of like the morning pages thing. But yeah, so it's just kind of like shifting my mindset. Like this isn't not a to-do list, but like this is what happened list. Like this is like for me currently to work through how I feel. And it just seems like less exhausting. I don't know. Does journaling ever seem exhausting to you? Like, I don't want to write about my day. But then it's like, okay, if I'm writing about my feelings and like my emotions, it's like then realizations come out, and it really does like make you feel better. So anyway, let me know if you journal down below. I wish this tea was a little stronger. Just in flavor. Like it's really not that flavorful. And it's been steeping for a while, so like I expected, it said rose. I was expecting more rose flavor. I'm kind of getting the licorice flavor, but like, so back to, or should we get started on our main topic of the day, which is this TikTok that this girl sent me, which was, it was just like, this girl, it was just text on the screen, but it was like, when you protect your peace too much and your life is boring. And I think I've made a TikTok like that. And that's definitely how I was feeling, bro, like in January. Like, it's like, damn, like, this is so boring, bro. Like, fuck. So I wanted to talk about this and kind of get your guys' thoughts. And I also feel like there's two viewpoints that I kind of have on it. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. So first of all, y'all know I had to just look it up and see what kind of articles were available on the topic. It was a lot. I just looked up like spiritual boredom, and it was a lot of like very much religious articles, which like no shade, but I didn't really want like that like kind of vibe. But what was actually very helpful was Quora.com, which I don't know if you guys know, but it's like Yahoo Answers. So it's just like random people answering this question. But there was like some good answers on here, and I guess that's kind of more so what I wanted, like not like, oh, an article about straying away from God, but like, okay, like how does it feel when you like commit to like, I don't know, living spiritually and not like bullshitting, I guess. Again, I have like two different kind of viewpoints on this. So, so the question was, why do spiritual people become so boring after they start following the path of spirituality? So then the first answer, which probably I think is like the main, like the most thumbs up answer or something. Someone said, you haven't explored the spiritual entertainment out there. In fact, when people get so bored after years and years of party, booze, date, dine, gossip, fancy cars, I'm like, sounds fun. Suits, rat race, and so on, they turn to spirituality and find it more entertaining without expending on their relationships and health. What we call happiness is a neurotic excitement. It is impossible to understand how ecstatic the spiritual person is unless our neurosis is settled and we're able to participate and celebrate in their awareness. If you are bored with a spiritual person, it shows only one thing, that one of you is non-spiritual, and you know who that is. It's kind of sassy. Damn. This is another answer. Generally, people who transition from one extreme to another extreme enjoy the things for a longer time. Oh, like people who follow and practice spirituality are the ones who have gone through some extreme conditions in life, like failure, bankruptcy, drugs, etc. Spirituality gives them a new hope in life. Nothing is permanent in life. You get bored sooner or later. So also in spirituality. I'm like, yeah, this was like a great website, guys. It was just interesting to see the different like answers, Someone said, I know I am more boring, and it has been an easy transition for my friends to go through with me. Before, I was up for dancing until late in the night and going out shopping, eating, to fairs, festivals, to coffee dates. Coffee dates aren't spiritual now. Now I'm happy spending more time alone, feeling connected to all the things out in nature or creating. You're telling me a coffee date can't be spiritual? Or like eating? Okay. We're gonna have to talk about this. Spiritual people have no fear of anything. Put them to hell, they walk through into the hell joyfully blissed out. Material people can only beg for heaven and will be bored on heaven in a few days. Here we go. If you're spiritual, you have... This is the same person, though, so... If you're spiritual, you have the freedom to do any adventure in this world without fear. There is boredom only... Okay, this person didn't know how to type. Great article, guys. Truly spiritual people talk less and listen more, hence people feel like sharing their pains and pleasures with them. They are so calm and happy that their positive energy is contagious. One would like to stay in their company for no reason. On the other hand, those who are trying to show that they are spiritual are boring. This is mainly because they start preaching. Believe me, no one likes preaching Mostly it's the self-talk, which they do. They try to tell themselves what to do and what not to do, which they say aloud, and hence the other person gets bored. Many times what they do is just a behavior change and not a change of thought process. The change is only outer, not inner, hence the discrepancy or conflict between their inner and outer states, which creates an unpleasant environment. Okay. So, I do think there's something to be said about, like always looking for, the next best thing, or like trying to find peace or happiness in partying or alcohol or drugs, or, in relationships, or, just never really being satisfied. And I guess also this kind of comes down to like, what does spirituality mean to you? Like, I feel like to me, it's like, what even is it to me? I feel like to me, it's like much more of a feeling. Like, especially in dealing with anxiety and whatnot, I know that when I feel just completely calm and like regulated in my body, I could be by myself, or I could be, with people that I love. But when I just feel like good in my body and I'm just in the moment and like just completely blissed out, I feel like that's spirituality. And I feel like spirituality is also like, it's like meditation. It's like listening to yourself and your intuition and like the mind-body connection, and just, I guess, being content like in the moment. And, bitch, again, I don't have all the answers. So that's not to say that's the only answer, whatever. But I feel like to me, like, that's kind of what it is. Like, nothing sounds better right now than just being right here. So while I do think, obviously there are extremes, and I feel like just in this capitalistic society, we're very pushed to want the next best thing, and obviously we need money to fucking exist and survive, so obviously we want more money, and, with social media, with celebrities, we want to be cute, like, we want to be Isa, we want to do this Isa. And just kind of chasing like this feeling. And I know, bitch, no offense, I'm so sick of talking about this, because it's just like, okay, I've talked about it so much. When people think that being rich and famous is going to solve all their problems, and then like they get there and they find themselves like more depressed. And actually, Demi Moore's memoir talked about that, because she had like such a rough, dysfunctional upbringing, and she just thought that like, oh, like when she started acting and kind of like getting more into the industry and stuff, she was like, oh, like if I can be rich and famous like in this group of people, like then I'll be happy. And like little did she know, like that was the most fucked up group of people of them all. To kind of like, like obviously that's not the whole story, but that kind of vibe. So I feel like a lot of it is like very ingrained in us. And bitch, it's also like, disclaimer, it's not like I'm like like, oh, I'm perfect, I like never like, my ego, it just like doesn't even exist. Like I never like have the urge to like want more, like be hotter. But I hope that just like is a given. That's not the case. But I like to like, think about these things and talk about it, whatever. Can we just stop with the disclaimers? Like, I hope you just like get it at this point. Like, come on. Okay, so there's that. Like, okay, I get it. Like, if you're really spiritual, like why, if I am truly content in the moment, like why would I want to drink or like go to the club? Like, oh my god, it's so low vibrational. But on the other hand, and I feel like it's a fine line, and I feel like you have to be like very self-aware and like, I guess like truly spiritual in a sense, to live this and not have it be an excuse for bad behavior, should we say. But I feel like when you are truly spiritual, it doesn't look a certain way, or like, I feel like if you're truly spiritual, you are able to have and be open to any experience, because you know yourself and trust yourself, and like, again, you're like willing to go with the flow and like just see, because there's people who spirituality is their brand, and I know I've talked about this before, But especially when I first, not even when I first moved here, but like when I first was visiting LA a lot, and, you know, being in the vegan community, which was also, you know, there was people who were very like quote unquote spiritual in that, and like, oh, you know, I have crystals and I meditate and I have a Buddha statue in my yard. It's like, just because you're able to afford the props and whatnot, like, does that really mean you're truly spiritual? Because someone could like book the most expensive yoga classes and like, you know, go fly wherever and get like a shaman for their ayahuasca ceremony, and like, I don't know. Only use sustainable vintage because my dad owns Shein. But it's like, that's not really what that, bro, it's just like props, and that's just like still external shit. So I feel like, you know, if you're truly spiritual, you're able to simmer the fuck down and like realize that we're humans having a human experience. What is it, like souls having a human experience or whatever? But we're fucking humans. We're having this human experience, and we're allowed to like, bitch, go on a fucking coffee date. Like, what? And I mean, everyone's like different. So some people may find that like, maybe when they have a deeper relationship with themselves, you know, they don't want to do a lot of things, which I think is very natural. But I feel like also sometimes, I don't know, it kind of comes across as like judgmental and like shamey, you know? It's like, bro, like sometimes there's so much joy in like going to get drinks with your friends, and that's like innocent. I mean, even like take the alcohol out of it, but just like what? Like this person's talking about like, I don't go to fairs and festivals anymore because I'm just so spiritual. It's like, okay, like maybe for you, but like, I don't know. I think it's like when you think too much about it, but then it's like, okay, obviously, like, you know, there's people who struggle with reliance on alcohol, or like they do have that chasing feeling, you know, like, oh, like, it's like, you know, like, oh, I want the next best thing, like, oh my God. But it's like, if you're able to like chill, then it's like, okay, I can go to this party, I can fucking be social, I can go on a fucking coffee date, and it's like, oh my God, I'm not spiritual anymore because I did that. It's like, bitch, it comes from the inside. So like, I could be, and again, everyone's different, but I just feel like I could like be at the club with my friends and have a truly spiritual experience. Because I'm like in the moment, chilling. Oh my God, I love being with my friends. This is so funny. We're gonna like have so much to talk about later. And like, I don't know. It's not like I always want to do that, but it's like, am I not spiritual? Because it's like, I'm not, you know, living like I am at a monastery or something. So I don't know. It's like, I get both sides. What else did I write down? Oh, balance. I feel like it's about balance. And if you are listening to this podcast, you live a modern life. You know, we're not like living in a monastery. Maybe you are, that's cool. But like, a lot of us aren't. We're living modern lives. You know, we have to do our jobs. We have to pay taxes. We have to go to the grocery store, whatever. So like, is that to say, oh, I'm not allowed to have fun? And again, maybe your perception of fun will change. And I know, especially like that one person was saying, you know, if you do go through a really hard time, or you go through addiction, or you go through bankruptcy, or just a really hard thing in your life, like, I'm sure your everyday routine and like your idea of fun is going to change after that, you know, if you are able to find spirituality and like, I don't know, just change your life in that way. But I guess like, okay, perfect. For those of us who are just trying to like figure it out, and it's like, okay, I know I want to be more connected to myself. I know I want to trust my intuition. I know I want to like be truly happy and content just in the moment. And I want to be able to self-regulate, and I want my mind to shut the fuck up sometimes. It's like, how much do you control, and how much do you just like trust yourself and work on like the trusting yourself, instead of like getting the accessories and like planning your life to like, oh, this is what I'm going to do because I'm just going to be so spiritual after I like do this. Like, or if I say no to this coffee date, because like, if I was truly spiritual, I could just be happy like sitting in this grass, and that's it. And it's like, yeah, sometimes sitting in grass is perfect and that's all I want. But like, not all the time. And we live modern lives, so it's not like realistic for us to just be like, all you do is like be in nature and create art. It's like, okay, maybe, but you still have to pay taxes, you know? So again, balance. I think the more I self-study, and this is the thing, this is the fucking thing, you know, the fake spirituality, the toxic positivity, like, bro, I just feel like a lot of it is, like, a lot of real, and again, I'm just a random bitch, disclaimer, but I feel like a lot of real spirituality is, it's, like, real. Like, it's not just, like, this, oh, my God, love and harmony, like, haha. It's, like, no, it's, like, dealing with your emotions. Like, it's, like, okay, what from my past is coming up now? Like, it's, like, real, like, psychology and, like, actual facts. It's not just, like, mystical vibes. So if I'm able to self-study and realize, like, what kind of emotions I have and, like, how my body feels when I go through certain events, even in my day, or when I interact with certain people, and, like, feeling the vibes in that way, and, like, how my body responds, and, like, what kind of emotions different things bring out in me. And then especially, like, with meditation and just, like, working on quieting your mind, but then also, like, working on, I guess, like, your triggers, like, your trauma, like, the ugly stuff. Like, again, like, the toxic positivity thing, that was such a huge thing. Like, oh, just focus on what feels good, and, like, you know, but, like, in a, oh, I'm doing this to ignore the bad stuff. Like, I'm not dealing with the bad stuff because I just want to, like, feel good. Oh my God, I'm going to just feel so good if I'm able to just manifest this and, like, be delusional. Kind of turning into a rant, but I just feel like my personal viewpoint has changed so much as I've grown up, you know, from fucking 15, 16 to now. I feel like that's when I started, like, reading a lot of the spiritual books and, like, whatnot. But now I'm like, bro, like, none of that shit's gonna make a difference if you don't, like, actually deal with, like, yourself and, like, how you are and why you are the way that you are, and, like, healing yourself, and, like, just stuff from childhood, and, like, it's like, how are we gonna find peace if we don't, like, work on shit? Because shit's always gonna come up, you know? You can't run away from yourself, so you have to deal with it. Like, I just always think of this one time, like, when I think of toxic positivity, I just remember this one specific memory. It was, like, when I first moved here, but I was in the car with someone who was like, oh, I'm so spiritual, you know? And they, like, kind of hit someone's car on the freeway or something, or, like, cut someone off. It was, like, something like that. Like, they did something kind of fucked up. Not, like, extremely fucked up, but, like, you know, it was just, like, they pissed somebody off. And the person was, like, kind of cussing them out the window. And so they just, like, they were like, oh, well, I'm just so spiritual. So, like, they started, like, shouting back, like, oh, like, I love you. Like, I'm sending you so much love. Like, I hope you're able to heal. And it's like, bro, like, that's fucking annoying. And, like, you're being, like, what's the word? A fucking prick, you know? Like, what? Just going around being like, oh, no bad vibes. Like, I don't want drama because I'm just, like, all about the good vibes and, like, good energy. It's like, no, conflict is going to come up, and I think it's just about how we deal with it. And, you know, then you learn about, oh, conflict can actually bring intimacy. You're like, I don't know, sometimes you're wrong. Sometimes you're going to piss somebody off. How are we going to deal with that? Because just saying, well, love and peace and good vibes only, I don't have time for drama. Is it drama or is it just life? Because, I mean, then there's also a difference of, like, actively seeking drama, because, again, maybe you're, like, looking for stimulation, but then there's, like, sometimes you need to have a conflict. So just a lot of realizations, you know, over the past however many years, and again, like, my perception has just changed so much, and I'm glad, because I feel like now, because I have learned what I've learned and continue to learn, like, I'm, I don't know, less afraid of conflict, more likely to stand up for myself. And then, I mean, this is it's like a similar topic. We're just flowing with the conversation, okay? Pisces season. Like I used to always describe myself as like such a laid back person, like, oh, I'm just like good vibes. I'm so like accepting of other people. But I kind of was like using that as an excuse to like not stand up for myself. And I think ultimately like I was afraid of conflict because I would just like, oh, like I'm so low maintenance. I'm just like good vibes only. Like I'm just like so go with the flow. But it's like, no, I'm not. I have opinions and like there's some shit I don't want to do or I'm not okay with. And now it's like I'm going to say that. Sorry, I'm not easygoing. Like I'm not a fucking bitch all the time, but like I'm not just like, oh, you can decide like and I think back when I first was like, I don't know, getting into spirituality and like reading the books and everything, like it's like, well, yeah, I just want to be like good vibes. Like, why would I want to cause conflict? That's just going to like manifest more conflict or like whatever. But it's like, I think the ultimate form of spirituality is like honoring yourself and again, trusting your intuition. And sometimes that means, not necessarily going off on someone, but like standing up for yourself and like risking a fight or risking conflict in the name of standing up for yourself and your higher good and for your younger selves and everything like that. So I guess my question to y'all is, what does spirituality look like to you? And do you agree with with what I said? I was going to say with the fact that no, it's not a fact. It's just an opinion. Do you agree with what I said where, if you are truly quote unquote spiritual, you can kind of have any experience, obviously within reason. That doesn't mean like go, I don't know, do the hardest drug you can find or something, like, but just in general, like being open to experiences, and it's not like you have to like try and shape your life. Again, it's one thing if it just happens like naturally, like, oh yeah, I used to like go out and party every single night and that was the funnest thing in the world to me, but now I like to stay in and like, I don't know, volunteer or whatever. Like that's one thing. But just if you're like trying to have this image of spirituality and like, oh no, I can't go to your birthday party because that is not, Jesus, that's not in alignment with my image of like what spirituality is supposed to look like or what it should look like, it's like how much of it, like I feel like people are like that thought process is very much like out like external in rather than like, okay, it starts with the self. And then like I feel like your life, once you start to like trust yourself, trust your intuition, listen to yourself, study yourself, work on yourself in that way, then your external world is just going to start shifting like as a result of that versus like, oh, I need to like control how everything looks on the outside and like, do I have the right, home decor for my new spiritual life? And then like, oh, hopefully I'll get more spiritual as a result of that. So I mean, it's low key like a law of attraction, like some of the law of attraction stuff, it do be hitting, like just that idea, me talking shit about it to then like agree with it later on, but just that idea of like it starts from within. And that's, even that sometimes can be kind of dismissive of like people's experiences and whatnot and like just issues in society. But just like in general, if you're looking to like that, like the Demi Moore book, like, oh, if I could just be rich and famous, all my problems will go away, or like then I'll be happy or whatever, like, bitch, you could just go right to the feeling and work on yourself. Oh, this tea making me hiccup. What kind of podcast is this? Oh my god. So I would love to hear your thoughts. I think it's such a fascinating topic, mostly because it's just so relevant in our everyday lives. Like there's a point in the day, in every day, where you could be like, you could like think about this and it could be applicable to the situation you're in, So I'd love to hear your thoughts, and especially this Pisces season, I feel like that's a great topic to think about just in terms of spirituality and like going with the flow, following your intuition, things like that. So I guess that's all I have to talk about. Also, I'm getting starving suddenly and randomly. So I'm gonna go make up food, but I will link all the articles I referenced down below in the comments. And let me know what you want me to talk about next week, the first week of March. And we're in full-fledged Pisces season. But yeah, thank you guys so much for listening as always, and I will talk to you then. Bye, everyone.